With me now is Dr. Yonatan Freeman with Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Sir, in your mind, what is the significance of Netanyahu's meeting behind closed doors with the new leader of Sudan?
Well, I think it's very significant because it comes only a few days after the proclamation of the deal of the century in the White House, where after that deal was proclaimed, many in the Palestinian Authority, including Abu Mazen, said, the Muslim world is with us, everyone's against the deal. So what we're seeing right now is with this meeting with the Sudanese leadership is that what's more important for them is their relations with Israel in terms of getting the tools to get to the 21st century, and what's less important is what the Palestinian Authority thinks about it.
In your mind, sir, what could happen before full normalization? I mean, that's the end result of what could be a long process. What kind of steps could we see? What kind of impact could there be before there is an official diplomatic relationship?
Well, we're already seeing an impact in terms of, for example, the relationship between Sudan and Iran. The more they are disconnecting from Iran and having Iran seem like a threat to Sudan, I think that causes them to get closer to us. So for one, we're already seeing, even before formal diplomatic relations, we're seeing that Sudan is less and less a threat to Israel, to the West. And we even seen reports that maybe soon they'll be even removed from the list that the U.S. has for state sponsors of terrorism.
One thing that impacts certainly Israeli tourism and business is the inability to fly over Sudanese airspace, especially with Latin American countries. Could that be changing soon? Could we see other kinds of small steps sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I think shortening the flights to South America, that's one thing that we could get out of having good relations with Sudan. But I think the big picture is that even Sudanese people want to go to South America. And what we look at, a country like Sudan, more than 40 million people, they need the tools to get to the 21st century. They need the tools to help them have water, fight the desert, have good hospitals. So I think what they're looking for Israel is really to get the tools that can impact a wide range of people in their society.
So we just ran a story where we heard from sound bites, interviews that we conducted with some refugees living in Israel, originally from Sudan. There is fear here in Israel. Perhaps one end result of this thong of ties could be making refugees and asylum seekers go to Sudan, taking them out of Israel to Sudan. Could that happen?
Well, I think we'll probably discuss issues related to Sudanese citizens living here in Israel, but I think the end result is really to improve Sudanese society, because last year they had a coup d'etat. The military removed Bashir. So right now the people of Sudan really want to improve the society. So really the hope that we have here in Israel is that the more Sudan gets improved, the more it reaches the 21st century, that will really encourage Sudanese people here to return home.
In your mind, how stable is this new Sudanese government system, this military-civilian partnership? I mean, I know this was a very big moment diplomatically for Netanyahu and for Israel. I mean, to meet with the leader of Sudan, a country that for decades was pledged to never speak with Israel or recognize its existence. But this is a very new kind of government system, a new council. Can it be trusted? Will it change again?
Well, what could not be trusted is really what you mentioned, the fact that Sudan has been a very anti-Israel player for decades. They had that conference in Khartoum where they said they'll never talk to us, never recognize us, never negotiate with us. So what we're seeing right now is a flip, a 180 degrees flip, whereas they're seeing that something that Israel has can improve their well-being. So I think right now Sudan is in transition, and part of that transition is really not just improving their own lives within, but improving their international standing. And I think that right now their focus is about getting Sudan out of the isolation. And one of those countries that really could help Sudan get out of the isolation is really Israel.
One thing that didn't happen, though, is the Ugandan president announcing an embassy in Jerusalem. Netanyahu had been pushing for that, teasing about that perhaps, but it didn't happen.
Well, I think he said we'll be studying it in terms of Uganda and their own policies. I think that really the issue of Jerusalem is something that we can even see with regards to relations with Africa. Part of what we're doing in Africa with Uganda and Sudan is trying to reach more African states because we want to impact them, among other things, in diplomatic forums. And a few years ago, when the UN condemned Donald Trump for recognizing Jerusalem as the capital, there were many African countries that didn't come to the vote, voted against, or were neutral and abstained. So I think what we're seeing right now is that Africa is more and more going and connecting to the West, connecting to Israel, even though historically it was really, really the opposite.
All right, Dr. Freeman, thank you so much for being with us on the show for your analysis.